Rick Harrison, the guy we all know from Pawn Stars, the no-nonsense boss who could spot a fake from a mile away, the man behind that iconic "and best I can do" line. But this time, the deal wasn't at the counter. It was in court. And the outcome? Life in prison. It sounds unreal, right? Like some crazy internet rumor. But no, this is real. FBI raids, secret bookkeeping, stolen artifacts, and a courtroom moment that stunned even the most cynical legal experts. So what happened? What did Rick do that was so bad he got hit with the harshest sentence possible? Let's break down the shocking fall of Rick Harrison. From pawnshop king to convicted felon. Before the headlines, Rick was just a pawnshop owner with a sharp mind and an eye for history. Raised in a business family, he helped build the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas from the ground up. And when Pawn Stars hit the History Channel in 2009, Rick became a household name, turning junk into gold, both literally and on screen. He wasn't just a businessman, he was the face of the shop. His reputation was built on knowledge, negotiation, and a straight-talking attitude that made him seem like the last guy you'd expect to see in handcuffs. But behind the scenes, the story was more complicated, and it unraveled in the most public way possible. In early 2023, things started going sideways. Federal agents, not just the FBI, but the IRS and the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, raided Rick's Las Vegas home and the gold and silver pawn shop. It wasn't subtle. Full-on search warrants, agents flooding the store, computers yanked, documents seized. Customers and employees were temporarily detained, and Rick was escorted from his home as neighbors recorded everything on their phones. Footage hit social media within minutes, and still, nobody knew exactly why. At first, Rick's team called it a misunderstanding, but behind closed doors, the feds were already building a serious case. Turns out, Rick wasn't just facing a slap on the wrist. He was being investigated for tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and conspiring to traffic illegal cultural artifacts. The claims were intense. Prosecutors said Rick had been using a hidden bookkeeping system, basically two sets of books, one for the IRS and one for himself. They alleged that Rick was intentionally undervaluing historical artifacts for tax purposes, then selling them for their full price through backdoor deals. Even worse, some of those artifacts were stolen from private collections, museums, even university archives. One insider, a former employee, claimed Rick had knowingly bought these pieces and ran them through middlemen to scrub their origins. The legal battle stretched for nearly a year. Rick pleaded not guilty and stayed defiant the entire time, appearing on talk shows, calling it a witch hunt, blaming politics. His fans rallied around him. Hashtags like #FreeRick started trending. Protesters showed up outside court. But inside the courtroom, the evidence piled up. Text messages, financial records, encrypted conversations. Former employees testified that Rick had asked them to manipulate documentation. There were screenshots of chats where he talked about cleaning, the provenance of stolen documents. One conversation even detailed how to structure a big cash sale to avoid mandatory reporting. The most damning moment? A set of messages between Rick and a supplier, talking about an 18th century document stolen from a university archive. That was the turning point. When the verdict came down, the courtroom went dead silent. Rick, who had held it together the entire time, went pale. His son Corey dropped his head in his hands. Chumlee, who was in court every single day, walked out, too emotional to stay. The sentence? Life imprisonment. Legal experts were stunned. They called it extreme. But the judge didn't hold back. He said Rick had betrayed public trust, profited from looted cultural history, and created a black market operation behind his respectable public image. You presented yourself as a guardian of history, the judge said, but you participated in its destruction for personal gain. Rick's legal team appealed immediately, arguing the punishment was excessive for nonviolent crimes. But the judge denied bond. Rick was taken away in cuffs. And those photos? All over the news. The fallout was brutal. The History Channel dropped Pawn Stars overnight. No reruns, no farewell, just gone. Tourism at the pawn shop tanked. Corey took over and started rebranding the whole operation, emphasizing transparency, setting up museum partnerships, putting in new rules to verify every artifact's origin. He even gave an emotional interview saying, "We made mistakes, big ones. But this shop's been here for 30 years and I'm gonna make sure it's here for 30 more." Chumlee also spoke out, saying he learned a lot from Rick, but had to accept that there was a side to him he never saw, or didn't want to. Fans were torn. Some believed the sentence was way too harsh. Others, especially from the museum and academic world, said it was justice for years of exploitation. Today, Rick sits behind bars, still fighting the sentence. His family has organized prayer circles outside the pawn shop. Supporters have built online communities, launched petitions, and raised funds for his legal defense. Corey says Rick reads every letter fans send and that they've helped him stay strong. No one knows how the appeal will turn out, but one thing's clear: Rick Harrison's rise and fall is one of the most unexpected stories in reality TV history. A man who built a brand on knowing the value of everything, now paying the ultimate price for what he didn't see coming. After the verdict, Corey Harrison didn't just lose his father, he inherited a broken empire. With Rick behind bars, Corey stepped up to run the gold and silver pawn shop. But it wasn't business as usual. Visitor numbers had plummeted, public trust was shaky, and the shop's reputation, once the pride of Las Vegas, was hanging by a thread. In interviews, Corey admitted the weight of it all, but made mistakes, big ones. "But this shop has been part of Vegas for over 30 years, he said. "I'm determined to make sure it's here for 30 more. He began implementing strict new protocols, verifying provenance for every item, partnering with museums and making sure every transaction was transparent and clean. The goal wasn't just to survive the scandal. It was to rebuild from the ground up and make sure the shop became part of the solution, not the problem. It wasn't just about business anymore. It was about restoring legacy, both for the shop and the family name." Austin and Chumlee. Russell had been by Rick's side since day one. On Pawn Stars, he was the comic relief, the lovable underdog. Off camera, he saw Rick as a mentor, even a father figure. That's what made the trial so hard. Chumlee attended every day of the proceedings, sitting quietly in the back of the courtroom. But after the sentencing, he was seen exiting quickly, visibly shaken. In later interviews, his words hit differently. "I learned so much from Rick. Good business practices I'll carry forever. But I've had to accept there was another side to him I never saw, or maybe didn't want to see." It was a wake-up call, the kind that turns admiration into conflict. Like Corey, Chumlee had to reckon with the truth. The man who taught them everything wasn't who they thought he was. And that's where the story sits now. A pawn shop trying to rebuild, a family trying to move forward, and a legacy forever changed. And that's all for today. If you found this video interesting, make sure you hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.